Image-based emails. If you have seen these landing in your inbox, you may wonder why every company isn't sending you beautiful, graphically designed emails. The short answer is that emails made from images aren't accessible for all users. If the images are blocked or a user can't physically see your email, then your message is not reaching them. A good rule of thumb is to always create your emails with the expectation that images will be turned off. Recently, I designed a modular email template for a job application, and I'm going to show you the steps I took and my thought process to make a great-looking image-based email design. I was instructed by the agency to build a single modular email template for a THC CBD drink brand. The point is to allow these modules to seamlessly flow together in basically whatever order they are in and to be easily swapped out for other modules. My template is in order of logo and hero CTA with live text, reviews, products, the product CTA also with live text, and a footer. I jotted down some instructions from the agency and from a client call they provided where they discussed the design iterations. I based this email template off of the summer sale theme that was discussed and a mural board of various email template inspiration and ideas. The client also informed me that I would need to pull all of my assets and elements from the web. To get started on the hero image, I found the Delta logo online, but it was pixelated, so I turned it into a vector image using LiveTrace and Adobe Illustrator. And then I cleaned it up just a little bit because I didn't want to draw attention to any distortion, so I cleaned that up, changed the color. I sketched a few quick layouts for this challenge and landed on highlighting the tropical mango flavor by adding some actual fruit into the hero image. I quickly generated some photorealistic mangoes and prepared them in Photoshop. So as I bring the mangoes in, I want them to look like they're sitting around the can. There's some pretty heavy shadows here, so I'm going to eliminate those and attempt to soften them a bit. And here I popped that mango slice right in front of that can to give a bit more depth, make it look like it's actually sitting around this can. So now I'm going to open up Illustrator and start to bring in some vector design elements in here. I didn't have much in the way of brand guidelines, but was offered a very pixelated color guide and managed to sample the tropical mango colors for this design. It was mentioned during the client call that they didn't care for this triangular design that had been previously made, and they were more interested in this wave pattern that they saw on Pinterest, and I guess a previous designer had attempted in draft designs before. Going back into Photoshop here, the client mentioned that they like to see textures, don't be afraid to use a film grain, and so I'm using this beachy sand sort of vibes that are going to go behind that the can with the fruit around it. When I work in Photoshop, I use a ton of masks. This allows me to easily paint in and paint out elements of the image. Using masks is also non-destructive, so I'm not actually deleting any of the original content, and I can easily retrieve it if needed. At this point, I think the hero image is looking pretty good, so I cap it off with these vector elements and move on to the CTA. I wasn't given much information on what the actual content of the email should be, although I did view some drafts, and I also subscribed to Delta's email subscription, so I got their welcome email, and that's where I pulled in some of this information, like the 10% off. Now I'm beginning to work on the reviews and testimonies section. So I bring this into Figma and begin to play with the layout a little bit. I went with a very standard image on the left, text on the right, and then for the bottom I inverse that. And because I want to play with the vector art a bit, I sort of mimic what I made in Figma in Illustrator, and then I begin bringing in those elements, messing with the colors, and bringing in some of that wave look. I also added a texture to that starburst that I made, sort of a bottle cap shape, really. The first image was of the friends hanging out, vibing. The second one I thought would be really good to sort of contrast that, where you can also drink this by yourself, not necessarily in a party atmosphere, but hanging out by yourself, chilling, meditating, whatever it is. One thing I wanted to highlight here that I noticed the client mentioned is the quote, "elevate every moment." So I thought it important to highlight that, and it also looks good graphically. Now I'm moving on to the next module of the email. This would be the second CTA. It's gives the user the option to explore the other Delta Light products. This image I've also pulled from online. It was pretty low resolution, but it was the best I could get that showed all of the other Delta Light products. Since we are working with a summer theme here, and I've already used a beach image, I wanted to include some water. So in this next step here, I take the water into Photoshop, I adjust the colors, play with the levels, the saturation, until I get it to where I want it, to where I think it looks best with the brand colors. And here it is in contrast with the sand image. Just like this, the sand image, I don't want it to stand out too much, so I painted away using masks some of that background. Below this image, I'm adding our live text and second CTA. So this live text, once again, because it is not an image, it will appear in people's emails, as opposed to an image which could be blocked or be fuzzy or hard to see. For our final module here, we have the footer. I like to add a big block of color, the elements, those vector elements at the bottom. It gives it a nice end cap look to it. And I noticed I missed one thing on that testimony section, and that would be the stars. That really helps make them pop, and it's very clear and obvious what it is right away, rather than just random text, so people know exactly what they're looking at here. You'll also notice that this star is the only component I made in the whole email. This was really the only time when I had a repeating element, and I didn't see a need for it elsewhere. So that is the final email design. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, and before we get out of here, just a few quick closing thoughts. First, I very rarely build and send emails like this. As I have mentioned throughout this video many times, images don't always work for all users. I prefer to focus on accessibility and getting into the inbox. This is the reason I use code and drag and drop platforms to build my emails. So if you have any questions for me, just leave a post wherever this video is brought to you, and y'all have a lovely day.